Hey guys, I'm finally done with most of the other projects I've been working on, and as you can see behind me, there's a truck cab out in the middle of the barn, and that means that it's finally time to weld in a new, I don't call it a doghouse, but a new transmission tunnel, an engine slight doghouse. And we got to do some seat brackets and some odds and ends, but that way we can get this thing painted in the next few weeks. So I'll turn you around. Let's check it out. So here's what we've got. If you all remember from some of the other videos in this series, obviously I'm converting this 3500 HD over to an extended cab that GM never put on that chassis. I've already used my other cab as a test case, and I have welded in the extra set of cab mounts that an extended cab requires, and it does clear. You know, there's a lot of guys who say on a 3500 HD that an extended cab doesn't clear where the bump up in the frame is. I can tell you that it does. I don't know, somebody else has had problems with it. I don't know why, but in my case, it works just fine, and I got an inch and a half of clearance. So at any rate, I've already done that work. That temporary cab is sitting on the frame rails. I've made the cuts already, the clearance cuts in that required to clear my 5.9 Cummins and my Fuller 6-speed. And so now what we're going to do is we're going to go out and clear the foot of snow off of that and take some measurements, and I'm going to transfer them to this one, and we're going to make some nice clean cuts on this beautiful cab. I mean, guys, this is I paid, I don't remember, it's either $1,000 or $1,100, and I got the cab, and I got a hood, and I got a fender, and some door panels that I already have. Anyway, but this thing came out of Tennessee, so I'm told, but I don't really care where it came out of because it is cherry. Look at those cab mounts. Look at that underside. I don't know if you're gonna have much light under here, but this thing is pristine. And some of you might be watching this from Texas or something, and or Arkansas or California, and say, "What's the big deal, Rob?" Well, the big deal is that cabs with floors like that, and undermounts like I showed you, underbodies like I showed you, and rocker panels that look like that, they don't exist in Michigan. It's getting hard to find cabs like this for the next 2 generations of trucks. So to find a 1993 or 4 cab, whatever this is, that's 100%, literally 100% rust free. There is no rust on this truck, none whatsoever. But anyway, I'm going to cut it up. I hate to do it, but that's what we got to do. We've also got some different seats we're going to be putting in, so we're going to have to build up some brackets for those seats. And yeah, that's the size of it. So it's time to get after it. All right, guys. Well, I hope my microphone works. I've been having problems with it lately. Oh, sweet. Oh, yeah. Well, as long as we can get close. Ooh, that's cold. It has been, actually, it's kind of funny. Somebody just commented on one of my older videos about, I think it was a cold start video, and they said 35 degrees isn't cold. about down south. It's cold, blah, blah, blah. Well, it's 15 right now. And that's warmer than it's been for the past week or two. We've had days that barely cracked freezing and nights that were minus 15 or so, which isn't necessarily normal for where we're at, but it does happen, at least usually a couple times a year. So, yeah, I know what cold is. Trust me. All right, so we're going to take some measurements and get back in the heat. Okay, so what I'm going to do now as I move you guys around here and jostle you is I'm going to take, I'm actually going to have you check it out, but I'm going to take some video that'll show me what exactly I mean by some of this stuff, my measurements. All right. Holy crap, it's cold.
Today, too cold snow.
Let's go get warm again. Jesus. Oh. Yeah, I'll take 62 degrees all day. Over 15. All right, guys. Well, I've transferred a whole bunch of measurements and figured out where we need to be. Some similar ones on the other side, and we're going to make some preliminary cuts and yeah, compare to the other cab and see where that puts us. Then once we have that, then we can start worrying about fitting sheet metal back in. But basically, this is the back of the trans, so this is the point where we're gonna, and by the time that time the trans is nice and low, so that's the point where we'll ramp up to. We don't want to make this any bigger than we have to, so I'll ramp up to the height I want, which is basically right here. We'll keep that generally pretty flat. That gives me some flex room, so we're not bumping right up against this. And come get us past the shifter point, which is here, and then we'll angle. We'll have a hard angle down, so that way we've got room for a console or whatever we want to do. And then got these here. I think some of this in this space here, where it's just the mount is just barely, not even a half-inch higher. I think some massaging will be in order. I think we'll get this cut out. We'll do some massaging and compare the measurements to the other cab, and then we can weld in. So with that being said, I'm gonna keep the phone out of the way while I'm cutting, but we're gonna do some cutting here and see where it gets us. All right, there we go. There is where the tunnel used to be, and there it is. See what came out. So try to keep it as nice and neat as possible, and yeah. All right, so this is the first mock-up here. You can see I'm trying to follow the curve of the old firewall a little bit. We've got our opening for our shifter. We did some bends, came back. I just went out and measured and made sure that I think we'll have plenty of clearance. You know, the top of the trans is actually down here. By the time it gets here, it's angling up as it goes, and then that shifter tower comes up a little bit. That's what I'm clearing. And it's crazy because in the original installation, when I built this truck in 2014, I had dropped that motor low enough and put enough crazy driveline angle on it that I actually cleared the old tunnel. So again, there's lots of people who do 5.9 Cummins swaps. The issue here is that I'm using a Fuller transmission, with an SAE number 2 bell housing and the associated mounts. I could have fabricated new mounts and had a little less tunnel mod, but in order to get driveline angle right and have plenty of clearance on that I-beam front axle, this is what has to be done. Now, on a IFS truck, okay, different game. You can drop this whole thing down a little bit. But, so for what I'm doing, this is what we've got. What this is going to do, because I'm raising up, you know, a good 6 inches over what it was in the old installation, thereabouts, we are going to have a much shorter shifter. So I've got some ideas on how we can do that. I like that. It's going to be shorter throws. It's a little clickier, which will work great with our Volvo seats that are going to go into this thing. Nice bolstering, nice comfy seat, buckets. Be a lot different from the old regular cab bench seat we had in the old truck. So so now what I've got to do, I'm pretty happy with this. So now we got to take the flap wheel and prep all around some of these edges, and might make some relief cuts so I can do my massaging over here. And then once everything's prepped, then I can do some tacking in. We got to get all this tacked before I fully weld everything, and then it'll be ready for prepping and seam sealer and all that good kind of stuff. So, progress. All right, well, I'm back out in the barn. It's another day, and yeah, I had this tunnel roughed in, but I don't want to do this twice, and I sure as heck don't want to do all this welding work and then body work it and prime it and paint it and seam seal it and all that good stuff to find out that it doesn't clear, or that maybe I'm doing way too much work here. So I'm going to take this out and we're going to see how this actually fits. I just made a little cardboard template with some bracing so it generally keeps the shape, and yeah, we'll see if it fits. It's worth the 15 minutes just to verify. All right, so I actually have to hold this because the floor is cut out farther, but it would be right about there. So yes, we clear with room to spare. I could actually drop this down, to be honest with you, about 2 inches. And I might consider it. We got our shifter spotted perfect. Yeah, I don't know. I'm going to debate on this. Let's go look back inside. So I thought about it, and I'm not going to move it. I'd rather have a little additional clearance. I don't want to have this all the way down, sitting on that transmission. For one thing, for ease of maintenance. So if we ever need to put a clutch in this or pull a trans for any reason, we've got to be able to get up and around that bell housing, and that's going to be sitting right here. You know, it comes back into the firewall, into the tunnel area, and I got to have room, or whoever buys this truck has got to have room to get tools and their hands up around there. So if we sit this down a ½ inch off the transmission all the way around, we got problems, and there's really no reason. There's no win. The dash clears this in spades. Is a small little dashboard in these trucks. You know, it makes for a nice short shifter. I don't see, the only problems I potentially foresee is whatever console I decide to use may have clearance issues. It's probably going to have clearance issues no matter, even if I drop this down by 2 or 3 inches. So I don't see a win there. So we're just going to proceed with where we got it. It fits nice. It follows the angles of the floor right. So we're gonna roll with it. All right. Well, I brought you back at the end because one of those things where I can go through 20 minutes of video showing you each little section I weld in, but yeah, so it's actually welded and ground. You can see we did the angular thing on this side because I have a little more room to work with, and that's much, much faster and easier. And then on, excuse me, this other side, we did a little more molding and hammering, and it's more time consuming, but we obviously have pedals, in particular a throttle pedal that's going to be a struggle even with this, so we'll cross that bridge when we get there. But this thing's welded in, nice and solid. That's actually slightly thicker steel than what the cab structure actually is. Let me bring you out a little bit so you can see it. And next step is getting some seat mounts for those things. But I'll show you one more shot here. Looking down, that's what we look like. Yeah. So I'm gonna go out and get some measurements, take some video. I want to find out where the seat sits in a stock Chevy truck. Height, angle, where the backrest is, and then we can start to figure out where we're gonna mount these Volvo seats. All right, guys, well, we did some more digging, and I think we're about to go down a rabbit hole. So there are apparently some fail-safes built into this because, of course, it's a semi-modern vehicle, and there's a board. So it's not as simple as just sending power. So I've actually already found a thread, though, on a Volvo website, and I'm going to do some reading. And you know, there's a simple way. I have sent power to these harnesses and gotten the functions to work. So the question now is, can I bypass these fail-safes, or am I going to rig up a switch panel to make this work?
Who's retarded now? I don't know, but it feels like we're wasting a lot of time.
I've got my heart set on having these seats in here, so nope. But at the very least, hope you enjoyed this video. We've got our tunnel in. Yeah, we're one step closer to getting this cab sanded and painted and onto that truck and moving along. Hope you all have a great week. Take care.